Welcome back to the podcast. You guys, on this episode, I'm going to take you down the rabbit hole that I've spent the last several days down. So the rabbit hole all started when my sister sent me a TikTok video. And I want to give credit where credit is due. The TikTok video was posted by And a Bottle of Wine, and A-N-D. And I'll post the link to the videos in the show notes because she did several series. I think I watched the first night maybe 8 videos about this, and I was hooked. I mean, no surprise. I like a little bit of drama, a little bit of gossip, right? Like, I like the Real Housewives, so there's no surprise there. So basically, I went down this rabbit hole, and the story is a woman found out that her fiance was a married man. And this woman is straight savage, because what did she do when she found out that her fiance was a married man? She didn't just out him. She didn't just tell the wife. She went, so this man is actually employed as the police chief of all things, right? Totally makes sense. And she went on to the website of the town in which he is the police chief in and posted a review. Yes, a review, like 0 out of 10 would not recommend. And this is what she had to say on that review. Chief Jason Collier is living a double/triple life. I was his girlfriend until yesterday. He lied to me and presented me with fake annulment documents when I found out that he was married. I also found out about a second girlfriend. He has lied to us, our children, and has asked both of us to marry him. He is a poor representative of your town. He would also visit me in Amarillo when he was on shift. We just returned from vacation on Sunday. Meanwhile, his other girlfriend was told he was on a work assignment in Portland, Oregon. So this one post went viral, and it went viral really, really fast. I'm talking like tens of thousands of shares, and I mean thousands of comments. It's insane, and I wish I could find the original post, but I can't seem to find it, which doesn't surprise me. I'm sure that city has wanted to take that down. I'm sure they don't want that anywhere on their site. So what happened is, after that post went viral, people then went to her Facebook page, and they were making all these comments on a former profile picture of hers that was both her and this Jason. And people started coming out talking about how they had similar stories with this man. A lot of people were coming out. Now there's all kinds of Facebook groups popping up. There's a Jason Collier, the Netflix series, and these people are like compiling the information about other girlfriends. And I literally sat in one of these groups one night just reading all of the comments. I read the comments on her profile picture. I read the comments in this Facebook group, and I just fell down the rabbit hole because the more you read, the more you're like, this can't all be true. And I'm sure there's some of these that aren't true. I'm sure there's some people who came forward and made comments that had no proof and just wanted the attention. But there were women who had proof. They had text message, they had photos, they like all of the crap these people had. It just mind boggled me. So here's a quick rundown of what somebody compiled, and I will share it. I will share it in the show notes of the women who have come forward and been identified. So there's some things that we know about. We know he's currently married. So there's that wife. There was a first wife. There was the lady who posted the Facebook review. Her name is Cicely. And let's see. Cicely met him, I believe, in December. There is a woman named Christy who met Jason in December as well and claimed to, get this, also be engaged. What? Who has time for a wife and 2 fiancés? Well, let's forget that. So there is also a first wife. There is a Another woman named Katie, who came forward because she was also involved with him. And when she saw the Facebook post, she reached out to him, and Jason, quote, said that he was not in a good place to continue seeing her. You think, dude? You think maybe you should take a break from dating women who are not your wife or your fiance? I mean, at least be loyal to your fiance. There is a woman who claims that her name is Angie. She responded on Cicely's post claiming that Jason did the same thing to her as well. However, she did not provide any proof. There is a woman named Heather who claimed that she met Jason through a dating app and that they were involved from November to December of 2020, and she posted photos. There is an unknown woman who a former acquaintance of Jason came forward and claimed that between 2005 and 2006, Jason was caught cheating on his then wife with an 18-year-old. So I don't know if this one's true. This one isn't. I can't find that it's marked as confirmed, but it's somebody on the list of women. And, you know, I don't know exactly how old Jason is right now. I'd have to look into that because we're talking, 14 years ago? He could have been a lot younger. So maybe it isn't as gross as it feels like right now. There is a woman who is tagged in comments about being a possible fiance. There is an additional woman who was tagged in comments on Cicely's post, but she has not come forward, nor has any proof been brought forth on her. There is a Brianna who came forward and posted screenshots and pictures between her and Jason as well. There's an unknown woman whose daughter came forward, but the woman hasn't come out publicly. There's also an unknown woman whose son came forward. And get this information. The son has come forward and claims that Jason told his mother that he was a widower, that his wife, who is the mother of his children, had passed away. And that he had a crazy ex-girlfriend, which in real life, the person he's calling his crazy ex-girlfriend is his wife. This son also says, which this seems like a stretch to me, but this son says that his mother would go to family events with Jason. You know, Lord help my husband's family if I find out that he is not only cheating on me, but he's bringing this woman to family events and no one's calling him on it. Like, I hope this one's a lie. Let's see. There is a woman who came out claiming that she was engaged to Jason prior to his marriage to his first wife, and that she ended the engagement when she found him cheating. Why does this not surprise me? There is another Christy that came forward on Cicely's post, posted text message and photos to confirm, claimed she dated Jason, or claimed Jason tried to date her in December of 2020, and he even bought her a ring. Homeboy. Jewelers must like this guy. So I'll get to this in a second, but Cicely actually did an interview with the Daily Mail that is like full of details. But there's lots of rumors about like how he got away with this. I personally don't understand how he got away with a lot of it because, well, first of all, we don't really know how long this was going on. It seems like a lot of the women are all in the end of last year. So I don't know if it was quarantine boredom. But this man is a chief of police in a really small town. It's in Stinnett, I think is how you say it, Texas. There's like 1,900 people. It sounds like he's a police chief of 4 full-time like normal officers and then 5, I believe, reserve deputies. So it's a really small town. I would think there's not much to do. I personally love small towns, but how do you get away with crap like this in a small town? Okay, side note, I just found a thing that says he is 39. So 14 years ago, he was 25. So it was only 6 years difference between him and the 18-year-old. Not quite as creeped out about it. Okay, so taking a look at the Daily Mail article. It is a interview with Cicely, who is the woman that posted the original post. She talks about, at this point of the interview, as many as 8 women have come forward claiming and have been confirmed as being dating Jason at the same time. I do not know if that includes his wife, because obviously dating, to me that would mean there are 8 women plus his wife. Also, if you hear something in the background, it is totally my puppy with a bone, and it's the only way I can get him to leave me alone. So we're just going to push through. Okay, so according to this, it says that Jason and Cicely met in mid-December on a dating app, which seems to be his hunting grounds. It sounds like she took down her dating app for a while, went back up, and then they reconnected, and they were talking on the phone and texting. They exchanged some Marco Polos, which I have an audio of that I'll play later. She says that he put a big emphasis on the fact that he took 4 years after his divorce in 2016 to work on himself, to get some personal insight, to concentrate on work. She says that she was impressed with him because he was polite and respectful, and she thought police officers, especially the chief of police, would be held to a higher standard, so she felt like she could believe him. This is why shitty cops piss me off, because you should be able to trust a police officer. You shouldn't have to question them. But because of people like this douchebag, you kind of have to. She also says, and to me, you guys, this just seemed like a red flag to me. Let me know what you guys think. So during their first conversation, she talks about how he pointed out or brought attention to the fact that he was the police chief of Stinnett, Texas, and that if she ever came across an article where it mentioned that he was married with 4 kids, to just, quote, ignore it, that it was incorrect, and he contacted the news organization who wrote the article to change it, but hasn't as of yet. Excuse me, what? Huh? He then tells her that if she goes to the Stinnett Police Department's Facebook page, that's where she'll find a corrected version. And to me, the red flag going off in my head would be police department's Facebook page, the police chief. Like, wouldn't you think that he has access to it? And actually, somebody went to this article, I have a screenshot of it, and double checked you know how on Facebook you can see if a post has been edited? And you can actually see he edited out the portion about being married. Red flag, warning. Run. Do not walk. Run. Okay, guys, this is kind of creepy, and I don't know why. Like, why is hindsight so bright? And when you're in the moment, your spidey senses aren't tingling, because she talks about how he claimed that he was going to be in her area because she lived about an hour away from him that weekend and wanted to take her out for dinner. So, like, that's not the weird part. But she says that they went to dinner, and then when the bill came, Jason asked for her to sign both her married last name and her maiden name. And the reasoning for this was he allegedly was FBI trained to do handwriting analysis. And he went even further and said that not only was he FBI trained, but he was trained by the man who analyzed the JonBenet Ramsey ransom note letter. It sounds like somebody is stretching. She says he went as far as to play that he was analyzing the signatures, drawing lines on the top and the bottom, scribbling all over it. She said at the time it impressed her, but now she can clearly see that he was completely and totally pretending. She said during their dinner conversation, he brought up that he was afraid that her ex-husband would see how happy she is in her current relationship and want her back. And she said that this was a theme throughout their short-lived relationship, that he always needed some sort of reassuring from her. Which, you know what they say, those who are doing shady shit always accuse people of doing shady shit, and that would make sense to me if he needed constant reassurance that he was enough for her, because she wasn't necessarily enough for him. Like, he wasn't satisfied with just one woman, which is complete and utter bull hockey. Like, this woman, no woman should ever feel like they're not enough for a man. And this just drives me nuts. So then this profile picture that everybody is commenting on, when it originally gets posted, one of Cicely's friends reaches out to her and says, "Hey, like, who's the guy in your profile picture? Da 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 da." She's like, he looks really familiar. I think he's married. I think she's on my Facebook. And this friend, even though Cicely says, "No, I vetted him. He was divorced in 2016. This friend, which props to this friend because she kept pushing and she was able to provide screenshots, which included a picture from Jason's Facebook page of a happy anniversary photo post from the fall of 2020. And so Cicely, of course, goes to Jason and says, "Hey, my friend is saying that she knows your wife. She's saying that you were married in 2016, not divorced." And, provides the name of the ex-wife, which I'm not going to provide because she's asked for privacy. And she's also saying both of the ex-wives are actually saying that their children are being bullied, which is awful because their children have nothing to do with this whole thing. And because they've requested privacy, I'm not going to say their names. But anyways, his current wife, and so she addresses this with him. She's like, "What is going on?" And he's like, "It's not true. We weren't married in 2016. We were divorced in 2016, and we actually had it annulled." And then Jason forges an annulment document and goes as far as to like assign it a court number, like it was actually filed with the court, and all of this stuff, saying, "No, here's proof. It was we had an annulment. I'm not married." So even though she had this quote unquote proof, she wanted more proof. She wanted somebody to vouch for him that he actually was not married. And so she asked for Jason to put him in touch with his brother. And of course, Jason had an excuse saying that his brother was in a meeting. However, she could talk directly to this ex-wife, and he sent her a number and everything. So when she started texting this number asking about the relationship, it was confirmed that they had been divorced in 2016. She explained that she just wanted to make sure Jason wasn't married because she didn't want to be a homewrecker. And whoever she was texting totally reassured her that they weren't together and he was a nice guy and she should go ahead and go for it with him. So then, which seems like a logical question, Cicely asks this person, "What about this anniversary post from September of 2020? And whoever she was texting said that she was embarrassed for her failed marriage and concerned about it affecting her job and wanted to keep appearances up for social media. This conversation seemed to be enough to subside her nerves and her concerns. When she went back to talk to Jason, he provided her with the annulment paperwork. In the article of the Daily Mail, she says that she was able to confirm, I'm not exactly sure how, she doesn't say how, but she was later able to confirm that this phone number actually is his second wife's phone number. So she's not sure exactly how the conversation went on, whether he cloned the phone number or what, but she did have a conversation with a number that is linked to his wife. So it also appears that somewhere during this timeline of her being told about the Facebook post, about the anniversary post, her confronting Jason and her talking to the number that is allegedly the wife, somewhere in there she apparently made a phone call to the court in which the annulment paperwork was filed at. And the court told her that they had no records in regards to this annulment. And I guess Cicely asked if there was any possibility that it could be sealed or for some reason not available. And while the clerk said that there is always a possibility that it isn't likely. So basically the clerk told homegirl, "This is bogus. Your boyfriend is still married." So when she confronted Jason about this, Jason allegedly was apparently surprised, saying that it was in his safe, that it was news to him if it wasn't true, like it wasn't a real record, that it was signed off for the judge, and that it was a shock to him if this document wasn't a legit annulment. So during this conversation, Cicely really pushes it. She says, I want to come see you. I want to come to your house. I want to talk to you. And of course, Jason had an excuse. He said he was on his way out because he had to serve a warrant and that he would call her after. He didn't know how long it was going to be. And then, of course, he didn't contact her until the next day and talked about how like he didn't get home until like after 1 o'clock and it was this big ordeal and they had to call in the DEA because there were so many drugs and weapons, and it just he just had an excuse for everything. And she says she chose to believe him again. She said she didn't want to be the nagging girlfriend just in case he was telling her the truth. And then, of course, the next day he had some excuse. And on Thursday, January 21st, he invited her up for a ride-along. She said this actually made her feel pretty confident that he wouldn't invite her up to his work and be in public with her in his hometown if he truly was married. So then she went up for the ride-along. She said she was feeling great by the end of the night. When they went back to the station, he kind of hurried her past the women at the front desk. And when Cicely asked if he was going to introduce her to them, he said, no, they're bitches. One of them is actually mad because he wouldn't date her sister and he just didn't want to put Cicely through this. When they got back to his office, she saw that a picture of her that he had previously had taped up was actually not taped up anymore and was laying face down. When she asked him about it, he of course had an excuse and said that, oh, I didn't want the tape to damage the picture, and so I need you to get me a picture frame. She said that weekend they then had a weekend getaway. They went to Mexico because of COVID. They spent a lot of time ordering takeout and eating in their room and just spending time together. She said that while they were out, they walked across a famous bridge and there was a man who was threatening to jump off the bridge, and she got to watch Jason in his element, and that she felt like during the time that they were waiting for law enforcement to show up and render aid to help them, that Jason really saved this man's life. So it sounds like even though he may be a scum of the earth when it comes to a husband, that he may actually have some decent cop skills, and thankfully was able to help this man who was threatening to jump. She said during this time is when they talked about marriage, and she said that they essentially had agreed to marry each other, but he didn't officially ask her because he was waiting to have a ring. And then they came back from their weekend away, and she said that that's when things changed. When he dropped her off, he was sending her messages that he missed her. And then 30 minutes later, he sent her another text message saying that they needed to slow things way down and that they had some differences. She said she was devastated because she didn't understand the changes. He apparently told her that he didn't think she had a close enough relationship to God, which I guess hadn't been much of a topic except for when they first started talking. I guess conversations really started to stretch out. The next morning, he didn't get a text from her. About mid-morning, he texted her saying that they had some things to work through. And get this, he had complaints about their major differences, including she didn't drink coffee and she didn't like seafood. Excuse me, what? If your major differences in a relationship only are that someone doesn't like coffee and they don't eat seafood, that seems like a pretty good relationship to me. And then ultimately he said he didn't know if he wanted to move to the town that she was in. And she was like, fine, we're done. I'm done. I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to get out of your life. She says she unloaded on him. She laid flat all of her questions, all of the red flags. Apparently at this point, he still dug his feet in, said the annulment was legit. He got super defensive, told her she was belittling him and he wasn't going to put up with him. And she was like, you're a liar, and to never contact her again. And she hung up. She said that she was just going to chalk this up to a bad memory. a bad moment until the next day she was talking with a friend of her and explaining the situation. And this friend said that she had seen a post on the Stinnett Police Department by a woman named Christy. And this woman's profile picture, just guess, ding, 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 ding. If your guess had a picture of her and Jason in it, you would be correct. So she reached out to Christy, she compared notes with Christy, and they realized that they literally had the same experience. And then the snowball began that I told you about. She's quickly now realized that she was dating a married man, and after her post went viral, she's now identified 8 other women. She said she just wanted everyone out there to know this man was a liar and a cheater. And as you could imagine, after Cicely's viral post, we'll say that 10 times fast. Apparently I can't. After her viral post, things for Jason would totally understandably have gotten pretty shitty, right? But now let's add on top of that the fact that in her viral post, she included information about this annulment paperwork, right? And then she was contacted by the Texas Rangers, and they wanted the information in regards to the document because that is a falsified court document. And on last Thursday, Jason was arrested by the Texas Rangers for falsification of a government document and was released on a $10,000 bond. Dude, the shit just keeps rolling for you, right? I mean, as we all know, like, there are consequences to your actions. So he's now in jail, or he's now been arrested and charged with falsifying a document. He was placed on leave and is now resigned from his position as chief of police. And then additionally to that, his current wife has filed for divorce. You know, I hate seeing bad things happen to people, but I love seeing when people do bad things, they're being held accountable, because there were so many things he did wrong here and he needs to be held accountable for him. My heart breaks for everybody involved, specifically the wives and the children. And I just can't believe that somebody could have this ongoing 3rd, 4th, 5th, like, how many lives did this man want to live? And how did he, in his head, think he was going to do this? Like, was it a quick hookup that he just wanted to meet these women, entangle them so he'll sleep with them, and then just like throw them to the side and keep moving, and didn't think he was ever going to get caught? I mean, this man told them what he did for a living. He told them his name, like, in an age with Facebook and Google and all of that stuff. All of our lives, whether right or wrong, are lived out on social media. So a quick Google search, you can find out a lot about somebody. And listen here, women, if you are going to meet somebody on a dating app, which no judgment here, because that is the wave of how we're meeting people now. Mind you, I understand things are different because of COVID. However, if dating apps are your way of meeting people, fully vet the person that you're meeting and search them, and like, just fully vet the person, because as shown by this Jason, it is entirely plausible that somebody is living a double life. It makes you question. A, when you have somebody that wants to move really, really quickly, and B, do we ever truly know somebody? Like, how much can somebody hide from you? I think in all of this, even though women's hearts were shattered, I think in the end, the fact that this man is being held accountable and is out of their lives, I hope means that they can live fulfilled, happy lives, and this has made room for an incredible man to step in his place, because he wasn't filling the shoes of an incredible man. I know I originally, at the very beginning of the podcast, and I forgot to talk about it, talked about how Cicely and Jason would Marco Polo, and a audio of this conversation between them is out there. And I talked about how I had it and I was going to play it. And I don't know how comfortable I am putting that on the podcast. It's out there. You can find it if you search for it. I'll see if I can find a link to it and I'll put it in the show notes. I don't know how I feel about including it in the podcast because I don't want to overstep some legality about publishing it in the podcast. So I'm not going to include it. However, I will post all of the information I have, any of the links to the TikToks or screenshots or Facebook groups, any of that stuff where I got or news articles, any of that stuff where I got my information, I will post in the show notes. I want to make sure that I'm following all of the laws and rules and what I can and can't do. So anyways, that is our weekly dose of drama and rumors and a little bit of gossip. You know, it's hard when you're doing these podcasts because it's interesting because your mind goes, how is somebody capable of doing this? But there's also a level of like, you feel dirty talking about it because you know this has affected somebody's real life. And I constantly want to talk about these instances because I don't want other women to be uneducated about, one, the possibilities out there, and two, I don't want anyone to feel when they go through crap like this, when they have shitty moments where life throws them a curveball they didn't see coming. I don't want anybody to feel they're alone, because if somebody is able to take advantage of you, if despite your best efforts, somebody still is able to pull the wool over your eyes, I don't want you to feel ashamed. I don't want you to feel bad about yourself, because this says absolutely nothing about you and everything about the person who did it to you. And I should be more broad because I know situations like this are not gender exclusive. I know that men and women do this shitty stuff. It's not just one gender doing it. And I don't want anybody to feel bad. Remember, somebody's bad actions is a display of them. It is a show of their character, not yours. So hold your head up high. Continue to travel on the high road. Take this as life's lesson. It's trying to teach you something. It's giving you some kind of skill to bring a better life for you in the future. I think that is a good place to end this podcast. And remember, no matter what you're going through, hold your head up high because you don't want that crown to slip. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Simply Imperfect Podcast. If you've enjoyed and don't want to miss an episode, make sure to subscribe. If you'd like to help the podcast out, make sure to leave us a rating and review while you're at it. To keep up to date with all things Simply Imperfect and to join our mailing list, head on over to @simply.imperfect on Instagram. And until next time, folks, make sure to embrace this simple imperfection that we call life.